We're diving into week 2 of the Storyteller series. So if you have your Bibles with you, turn in your Bibles to Luke chapter 15, 11 to 32. Luke chapter 15. I mean, if you were reading along in the Connect Journal and you saw that the prodigal son was the story, you knew what I was preaching on this week. It's just a spoiler alert, right? You got that one. If you have no idea what this little thing is in my hand, I want to introduce you to it. This is our Connect Journal, a bookmark. I don't have my journal with me up here, but this is actually the most important part of the Connect Journal. This is the Bible readings that goes along with whatever we're going to be talking about on Sunday morning. So the Monday through Friday, there's about a 5-10 minute Bible reading on reflection time that you can participate in that we'd love to introduce you to. These laminated bookmarks are out on the welcome desk. Feel free to pick one up. And if you go, man, I have lost mine, it's okay. Get another one. We are happy to make more of these. They are also always available on the Eastland app and on the website. You might want to just book that on your web browser on your phone. I know I've had to do that. Okay, so there's no shame in that. But I want you to get engaged in this. Our Sunday school class, our group that meets before this service, we go through the Connect Journal readings. Now, most of it is spent talking about Mountain Dew and silly stuff our kids have done. However, we try to rotate the whole thing around the Connection Journal moment in that. And the more you put into the Connection Journal, the more you get out of that. It's just how that works. So anyway, that's that today. But we are diving into this teaching about the storytelling of Jesus. We're going to go into the prodigal son, or the tale of two sons, or the great father. Whoever is your hero or who you identify with in this is probably how you title this particular spot. But Jesus, as the master storyteller, is at his peak of amazingness in this moment. Because honestly, I could probably preach on Luke chapter 15. Good. I mean, I know I took 17 weeks with James. All right, whatever. But I could talk about this particular these 3 stories, the lost coin, lost sheep, lost son, maybe a year. We could probably get a year out of it. And I'm not going to do that to you, okay? Like, Jared, you're beating that dead horse, I understand. But it's just such a deep mine you can keep on digging into. But why I bring that even up is because this is Jesus grabbing a hold of the attention of everyone that's in the audience. From the Pharisees to the tax collectors, because they're all there. From the people who don't belong to the people who kind of skipped work that day, to the kids who ran away and are kind of, not supposed to be wherever they're at, to the Pharisees and the Sadducees in the crowd trying to pin Jesus against the wall and thinking they're too good for this guy. Like the whole crowd, he connects with all of them in this moment. And it's just absolutely amazing. And he does it in this moment because he picks a pain point that if you are a parent, you definitely can feel at any time. It's the terror, it's the anxiety, it is the frustration, it is the fear of losing a child. Now, if you've never experienced a child not being where they're supposed to be, and you have no idea where they're at, you haven't really lived. You didn't know your heart rate or your blood pressure could be actually that high. It is a new level of abject terror. So go back in time with me. 14 years to Christmas. And I am a dad of twins, of 2-year-old twins. They are wonderful children. My son at this time is a picture-perfect toddler. The easiest toddler in the history of mankind was Bowen Hauser. You guys are trying to where's the joke? No, seriously. Was such an he was awesome. My daughter, Kendall, on the other hand, abject terror of a toddler. Which I know, you guys are like, what? Now, Bowen's awesome. But you wouldn't think that Kendall was the troublemaker. Kendall was 100% the troublemaker because she did this thing try to die every 6 months. And so she had really bad asthma. Anytime she got a cold, we get to Lifeline in a helicopter to the hospital. It was her way of getting attention, apparently. I don't know what that was about. So I was going to we were going Christmas shopping. Kelly was an overwhelmed kindergarten teacher at Christmas. That is when all the stuff happens for kindergarten teachers. And so I, being a good husband and trying to be a good dad, said, I'll take the kids Christmas shopping. However, dads, don't take twins Christmas shopping. December 22nd is not the time to go out with kids. All right, and so I have Kendall in my arms because, of course, she was sick. And so where does a sick toddler belong? Do they belong in the cart? No. Do they walk along? No. They are attached to your hip, and they will not go anywhere, and they demand all of your attention with the coughing, with the snot, with the stuff. Everybody's with me. And so Bowen, being the man, being who he is for me, is coming up just so clutch. And he's walking by my side, and I got all of Kelly's gifts in this arm. And so there's no room for him. He's not whining. He's not complaining. He's not doing anything. He's just being Bowen. And he's just chilling. And his favorite game at Kohl's at this time was to not step on the cracks in there. So he's just walking, being the man. Being everything I need him to be. And I turn into the cashier. This is December 23rd, 22nd, something like that. Because I'm a guy. And I lay all this stuff. I think probably even put Kindle on the thing because I was exhausted. And they start ringing me up, and everything's going well. And I turn to find Bowen, and he's gone. He's gone. My man, the last male Hauser, the toddler that doesn't cause problems. Kelly's gonna kill me. He's gone. He's gone. I have no idea where he's at. And so my face must have changed color. I don't know if I puked I don't know what happened at this moment, but the person, God bless him, behind the other side of the register said, "Sir, are you missing something?" And I just looked him dead in the eye and said, "My son." And it's the feeling, I cannot conjure up the feeling enough for you to go, It's Christmas at Kohl's, folks. At that time, half the population of Marietta, Georgia happened to be at Kohl's on December 20th. All the guys in Marietta, Georgia were at Kohl's on December 23rd. And that feeling that, oh my God, this is the worst time. This is not just a misplaced. This is not, he's raking leaves, he's wandering around the house, he's hiding from me. We're at Kohl's with 8 million other people. He's gone. And he is the coolest kid ever. So of course somebody would want him. And that's where I was. And that feeling, that pit. And that's the feeling that Jesus is bringing into people's lives at this moment of when he tells the story of the prodigal son, the lost kid. I want you all to feel that tension, the anxiety, that, whoa, where's my child? And that's where he brings them to in this moment. I want to talk about this moment of if you don't know the parable of the lost son, well, we're going to read it for you in just a second. It's a doozy. It's great. But this idea of grace permeates this story of someone who needs grace so bad. Actually, lots of people in this story need grace really, really bad. And as also a father of twins, you start to realize real quick, I'm an only child, so I don't understand this. I've been trying to understand this. I met some other only children, or found out other people were only children yesterday at the funeral dinner, and they get me, and I appreciated that. We became best friends. Sherry Stewart. Because we're only children. We don't understand this concept of siblings needing everything to be fair. And also when you have twins, this concept of everything needing to be fair, just because they split everything. Everything. Ours is a little different because they're fraternal instead of 2 girls or 2 boys, so that helps out a little bit. But everything has to be fair, and I don't understand this concept. I'm like, get over it. But when we look at grace, and the grace applied in this moment, it's not fair. And we don't want it to be. Like the idea of grace, I think the Pharisees all sitting in this, listening to this message of Jesus of this time, like, yeah, if you do A plus B equals C, and that makes sense. And Jesus says, I do what I want. Grace is not fair. And for our brains, for our minds, and for how we process even our relationships with God, we understand I sinned this much, therefore I need to do X, Y, or Z. They sinned that much, they need to do X, Y, or Z. It's not fair. Have you ever been jealous of the person or heard about someone who, like, they lived their whole life apart from Jesus, and on their deathbed they gave it back? Like, that doesn't make up for all the dumb stuff you did. And Jesus is like, yeah, it does. I control grace, you don't. It's not fair. And you know what? You don't want it to be fair. Because if we stop and we think about grace and how God forgives us for about 5 seconds, we're like, yeah, I'm glad you didn't bring that up, Jesus. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Let's not keep score. Put the scoreboard away. That's okay. But in my life, if I apply it to other people, I always want it to be fair. They didn't get what they deserved. But the overarching narrative of the prodigal son is grace is not fair. It's more. It's bigger than we could ever dream of. Let's go to the text. Luke 15. I'm going to read it. I don't think it's going to be on the slides. It might be. If Ronnie wanted extra credit today, I told her not to, so she would. But just read with me. Close your eyes, whatever you need to be. If you have the scripture in front of you, read along. This is Luke 15. Jesus continued. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided the property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and they squandered his wealth in wild living. After he'd spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went along and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am, starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father." Now you can underline this next part because, But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him, was filled with compassion for him, and he ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father said to his servants, "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger, sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and now is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked, "What in the world is going on?" Emphasis added by Jared. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. Threw a little pity party. So his father went out and pleaded with him, but he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you killed the fattened calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you're always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is now alive again. He was lost and is found." There's so much goody in here. So I hope you're comfortable and had an extra donut. First, the younger one, verse 12, the younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." which is basically, give me my inheritance now. In fact, I wish you were dead so I could have my money. Think about how that would go over. Think about how you'd feel as the dad. Think about the heartbreak in that. If you would hurry up and die so I could have your inheritance, that'd be great, because you were just lasting a little long. This is so, in our culture, that's rude. In their culture, this is unforgivable. This is just against all social norms. This is terrible. You see this happen. He continues to go along. I love this as when he came to his senses, when he had a divine Gibbs slap, if you were an NCIS fan, upside the head. What brought this to your attention? The living in the pig pen, or the eating slop, or the starving to death? Which one of these things? Man, this was a bad idea. Anyway. Verse 20. But while he was still a long way off. The point in that is he was looked for. You got this idea of a dad who every day things are going on, he's managing his affairs, but one eye is always to the hill. The one that he would be coming over if his son ever came home. While he was still along. I love that the son can't even get through his spiel, his prepared speech. I just have this vision of, Dad, I'm sorry. Yeah, hey, get the calf. I'm really bad at it, but sorry about all this stuff. Yeah, get the calf, throw a party, get the music. Guys, no, not those. Get the whole mariachi band. We're going to have fun tonight. It's going to tacos for everybody. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And he's still apologizing and just totally being ignored. I love that, because why? Grace isn't fair. He was expecting and deserving to be treated like a slave. Instead, he's elevated back to, this son of mine who was dead is now alive again. And that same representation of grace is what happens to us when we stop living the stupid lies and lives that we have made for ourselves and said, God, take me back. And he says, okay, you got it. And then that prayer goes a long time for us. We got weeping and snot and all this stuff. God, I'm not good enough. God, please do it. God's already cut us off and be like, woo, party in heaven. Steve's back. The angels are rejoicing, the whole place is going nuts, and we're still I'm sorry, God. And he's like, if that's what you need to do to process emotions, you go right ahead. But grace is not fair. You're back, baby. I love it. My son who was dead, my daughter who was dead is alive again. The lost has been found. We have these three key actors going on here. The younger son. The person who has wished his father dead, who has strayed totally far away. And in that crowd, in that moment, everybody knew who the prodigal son was. There probably was some elbows thrown, a little side eye going on, like the tax collector over there. The mob boss, the guy who's betrayed his country to collect taxes for Rome. Yeah, that dude, that's who's being talked about right there. The guy who actually brought 3 prostitutes to Jesus' talk, that might be the guy who Jesus is talking to. You have the older son, the Pharisees, who think they're so right. They're doing everything right. I just have the little prim, trying to judge Jesus, catch him doing something wrong. And when he gets to the older son, those tax collectors, they're like, Joe, you're the one he's talking about now. How you like me now? And you owe me some money. You have the older son in this moment. And often, if I'm honest with myself, if we've been in church for a while, we can identify a lot more with the older son. And that scares the bejeebus out of me. I don't want to be that hard-hearted. I don't want to be like, well, they don't deserve that. They don't deserve that. What do you mean you can have a deathbed confessional? That's not fair. It's not our place to decide what's fair. It's our place to serve an amazing God. Often I find myself in the place of the older son. I didn't go build a crazy testimony when I was in high school, right? I did stupid things, lots, but it wasn't like your billboard-esque stuff. It's like I wasn't that bad. I didn't do these things. I wasn't as bad as that guy. And I got into this comparison game, especially in college, like I didn't do that. Why do they get X, Y, or Z? Why do they get that gifting? Why do they get that opportunity? Why do they get that? That's the epitome of the older son. Like, that's not the point. The point is, this brother of yours, who you refused to call brother, you called him this son of yours. Like, there's some family dynamics there. I understand a lot more now having kids. I could see Kendall be like, that son of yours, he's your brother. That daughter of yours, Lucy's your sister, Bo. I got to gut check myself. Am I stuck in this mode of the older son that I'm not thrilled, I'm not ecstatic when a lost person has been found? That I'm not wanting to go buy fireworks and set them off when this brother of mine, this son of God, has now come home? Like, I got to check my spirit in this. I got to check my thought processes. It's so easy to be the older son in this story because he's demanding fairness. And God says, listen, bud, fairness isn't part of the story. Grace isn't fair. The default positioning of my love is not fair. Sorry about it. Get over it. This brother of yours who was dead is now found. He's now alive. The lost is found. Grace isn't fair, and I love it. Grace is not fair. It is extravagant, and it is forgetful. Grace isn't fair. It's extravagant, and it's forgetful. I love that all the hurt, all the sleepless nights are forgotten when he gets to hold his son. Like, think about that. Like, he said, I hope you die. Give me my money. You are living too long. And the response to that is, put a ring on his finger, bear hug him. I just have this idea of the feet aren't touching the ground, and he's still trying to give excuses. And he's like, I don't care. Grace isn't fair. It's extravagant and forgetful. And that's how God sees us when we turn our hearts to him. When we ask for his forgiveness, when we turn towards home being our Father's house. Grace is not fair. It's extravagant and forgetful. Grace isn't fair. I've said this before, and we wouldn't want it to be. Because if we think about it for more than 2 seconds, we don't deserve any of this grace. We may feel entitled. We may get to a spot where, like, I deserve this. I deserve this. No, we don't. Grace isn't fair, and we don't really want it to be. Verse 31, my son, the father said, you always are with me, and everything I have is yours. But we have to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. My son, who was dead, is now alive. And think about it. Jesus is teaching a multitude of people, and he's speaking these truths, and he's got them right where he wants them, because he's like, we all have lost a child in a crowd. We all have feared. Infant mortality rate is through the roof at this time. So probably 75% in that crowd had actually lost a child. This dead son is now alive. Where relationship was broken, now is made whole. Where there wasn't a chance to have love and to have community and to have relationship, now it's all back. There is a chance the relationship is restored. Can't you be excited? Can't you be ecstatic? For us this morning, grace isn't fair. You are loved, and you can be restored in the love of Jesus. Running back to God takes, all it takes is you making the choice to make him Lord of your life and asking him to forgive you. Just like the prodigal, just like the lost son. Says, this is dumb. I'm getting up and I'm going home. I think for many of us, we continue, maybe out of hard-headedness or hard-heartedness, we continue to try to live life the way we want to. I'll do it myself. And we have this attitude, this false feeling of self-reliance that it will be better if we can just do it. And really it's just our pride getting in the way of saying, I'm trying to fill these broken things in my heart with stuff that doesn't matter. And I know the real answer. My daddy has all the answers. My daddy's servants have better self-fulfillment than I am, and I'm chasing all these different things. I just need to go home. When I think about grace not being fair, I get a little overwhelmed. The idea it does not matter the depth of my sin. It doesn't matter how much I've hurt my Father in heaven. He throws a party and says, you who were dead are now alive again. You who were lost are found again. You are my son and my child. And sometimes in our lives, we need to be reminded that we haven't invalidated ourselves. We haven't walked too far away. We haven't gotten too muddy, too messy, too dirty. He welcomes us home. And in fact, while we are still a long way off, he sees us, he finds us, and he runs to us. Maybe this morning that's you. Maybe this morning you just need to start that journey back to the Lord. Say, God, I know I'm lost and I need to be found. I need some of this grace. This unfair, crazy kind of grace to bring me back into your family. Maybe this morning you find yourself as the older son in this. Why is that person? And you need a gut check. You need a heart melting moment of saying, I want to be a part of lost people being found. To come back to the Cole story, Bowen has gone. Christmas presents are all on the table. Kendall's sitting in the middle of it. I remember it like it happened yesterday. I'm looking at the teller at Kohl's. Sir, are you missing something? My son. Siri thinks I'm talking to it. I'm missing my son. Immediately slaps some button underneath the cash register. The gate comes down on the front door. Alarm lights start going off in the store. People that have Kohl's badges on descend from all over the store. Like, $23.19 if you're familiar with Monsters Inc. $23.19. All over the place. I know there was men or women, and there was men. It was December 23rd. There ain't no women out. It's all guys going, what the heck's going on here? In the middle of a conversation with an associate, and that associate just turned away from them and ran. Because they all knew, the code started going out over the loudspeaker. Some parent had lost a child. And not 10 seconds later, I found him! I found him! And I don't even know if I even said anything. I just looked at him. Bowen didn't know he was lost. No clue. At the end of that aisle was the men's dressing area, and they had basketballs at the end of that. And so he was trying not to step on a crack to break his mama's back, and he just kept on walking, and the first thing he saw when he looked up was basketballs. Ball. And that's all. It was his favorite thing in the whole world. He didn't even know he was lost. His dad knew he was lost. His dad experienced his first panic attack right there. I tell that story because of, one, I got my child back. I don't even know if I paid for those Christmas presents, by the way. I just like swooped him up and we just walked out. I don't know if I said thank you. I don't know anything. I just knew that my lost son was back in my arms. Amen? Church, I will never forget the response of Coles. And I don't know if that's a normal response. I don't know if they practice that. But that button got pushed. The door things came down. The associates came from over the loudspeaker. If you're a parent of a lost child, church, that's how we got to respond. That's how our attitude should be. Our response should be anytime we see someone hurting, someone walking away from the Lord. Is we are all in this together to bring lost things found. Our children who are dead, to bring them back to life again. And we do that. Grace isn't fair. It doesn't matter their story. I'm reminded of Sarah, the administrative assistant here at the church. You know what she used to do? Her hobby used to be? This is really cool. This is really cool. You know what Sarah's hobby used to be? She used to go to strip joints around town and pray and take meals and pray for the women in those strip joints and lead them to Jesus. That's what she used to do. You didn't know that she was that cool, did you? But that's the attitude. Now, maybe all of us aren't called to go into strip joints and minister to strippers. That takes a special kind of person, right? But we all called to see children of God who are lost, who are far away from the Lord, and bring them home and say, here he is. I found him. I found him. He's got a basketball. I don't know if he paid for it. I don't care. It's my child. And for you and for me today, that we can be people. I want to pray for this burden. That we would have the burden, maybe that movie playing in our head, that every single person that we meet and that we see is a burden. It is people that are lost, that need to be found. It is dead, that need to come back to life again. Because I think, as I go through my day and I go through the busyness of my schedule and I go through my to-do list and I just run kids around, they got to this practice, they got to that practice, we ate food, one day down. I'll lose my burden for anybody else. As we watch TV and as we think about all these weird people on TV, I can't believe they're doing all that stuff, that each and every single one of those weird people deserve and need the grace of God. They're lost and they need to come home again. And so this morning, if you're lost and you need to come home, I hope you would pray with me. But if you need a burden for lost, I hope you pray with me as well. That we remember that moment of when we couldn't maybe find our child, but every person out there is someone's child. And all of us are children of the Lord, his creation, who through his unfair grace wants to bring him home to his chest. Would you pray with me? God, thank you so much. Thank you for grace that's undeserved. Thank you for mercy. Thank you that you are a forgetful God. Lord, as we think about you and come before you today, maybe we found ourselves coming in these doors today needing something. And Lord, if it's grace, if it's you, if it's a fresh outpouring, maybe we've been trying to hide from you. And today is a day in which we want to lay our lives at your feet and say, Daddy, will you forgive me? If that's us this morning, that we would feel the embrace of the Lord Almighty, pulling us close to his chest and starting the party in heaven for our very soul. Lord, if it's us that maybe have gotten too busy, too self-involved, that we don't see the lost anymore. We see impediments to our day. We don't see dying people anymore. We see problems. And God, would you give us a holy burden to see the lost be found, the dead made alive again? Would you stir something in our soul, something in our heart, something in our chest, something in all of our being Would you take our eyes and give us a fresh vision for what it looks like to be surrounded in our daily lives by lost people, by hurting people, by broken people, that you would give us the intentionality to bring lost and broken things to you, to bring them to your heart, so that when they're still a long way off, you can run to people's hearts. Lord, I pray for this burden. I pray that you'd light that fire in my chest, that I'm desperate to reunite lost people to their daddy in heaven. That I don't live my days for myself. I don't live my days for my own comfort. I don't get self-absorbed, but I live them for lost people, for the dead to be made alive again. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.